It's a drug that cures hepatitis C in 90% of the cases, and it was considered so groundbreaking that NHS England set up a special scheme to make sure patients with less than a year to live were able to be treated. But it's expensive, $35,000 for a 12-week course, and now NHS England is worried they can't afford it. Our health and social care correspondent Victoria MacDonald has this exclusive report.
Ron Kerslake sneaked in under the wire. He was given a drug that has now cured his hepatitis C.
I was really very elated because I knew that, it had such good reviews, and I didn't think we'd get it, and then we did, so that was quite exciting.
It's called Sofosbuvir. It has a 90% cure rate and, as we reported earlier this year, was made available under a fast-track scheme set up by NHS England for people who had less than a year to live. It was an unusual step, taken so patients wouldn't have to wait while it was being assessed by the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, or NICE. But that scheme comes to an end this week, and now there is a problem. What we've learned is that NHS England has said to NICE that if they give the go-ahead for this drug, and they are expected to do that, could they delay the treatment by 6 months? A move which has absolutely infuriated doctors who say this will put patients' lives at risk. NICE isn't even due to make its final assessment until January, so it could be at least 8 months from now until the drug is available. Yet it's estimated that for every month's delay, 40 patients will develop a preventable liver cancer and 30 patients in England will progress to a severe form of cirrhosis.
I feel absolutely distraught for the patients who can see that these treatments are available throughout the world. They're being provided on the continent. You just go across the channel. Patients could get access to these treatments. They're life-saving, and yet they cannot get them in this country.
The drug is considered groundbreaking in the treatment of hepatitis C, but it is expensive, £35,000 for a 12-week course, and that appears to be what is worrying NHS England.
If you let hepatitis C progress, is that it turns into liver cancer, cirrhosis, need for a transplant, and so on, all of which are very expensive. A transplant's £100,000. Just decompensated cirrhosis is £10,000 per year to manage. Liver cancer is extremely expensive. The drugs for that are very expensive. So what this does is prevent the need for a huge amount of expense later on by treating and curing now.
Tonight, NHS England said it would now continue to make the drug available for patients with liver failure until the NICE assessment, but it would not comment on what happens beyond that. Mr. Kerslake contracted the virus after a blood transfusion for his haemophilia. He now has cirrhosis and liver cancer, but the treatment means his chances of survival are so much better, and he wants that for other patients too.
That makes me quite angry. I've not been angry about any of it, but if others don't get the same opportunity, that makes me angry.
Well, an inquest has heard that 2 transplant patients both died after receiving kidneys from the same donor, even though the organs had been rejected by other hospitals. Cardiff Coroner's Court was told that the men died because the kidneys they were given were infected with an extremely rare but deadly parasitic worm. Our Home Affairs correspondent Andy Davis joins us now. Andy, tell us more about this case.
John, this involves 2 men from South Wales who went into hospital here in Cardiff a year ago for a kidney transplant, each getting a kidney from the same deceased donor. That was Darren Hughes, who's 42. He was going in for his 3rd transplant, and Jim Stewart, who was 67. It was his first transplant. Now, the operation seemed to go well, but in the days that followed, both men declined rapidly and then died. And what's emerged is that the cause of their death were these deadly parasitic worms which can travel up from the kidneys into the brain and cause fatal swelling. Incredibly rare in humans, only 5 reported cases worldwide. But at the inquest today, we heard that the probable source of these parasites had been the donor's kidneys.
Well, what's frightening is that we learned today that other hospitals had already rejected them.
They had, but it's important to state that at that stage no one knew about a possible parasite. What was known then was that the donor had died probably from meningitis, but the cause was unknown. And that uncertainty was one reason why other hospitals had rejected the kidneys. Now, the question is this: did the families or the recipients here in Cardiff, were they made aware of the circumstances surrounding the donor's death? They claimed at the inquest here today that they weren't, and had they been, they would have stopped these transplants from going ahead. And Ian Hughes, whose son Darren had a muscular disease and apparently struggled to write, he told the inquest that he had to sign the consent form for the transplant on behalf of his son, and as he repeated to me later today, that was something he now deeply regretted.
I signed my son's death warrant. He says, yes, I did. Somebody had to put the name on a piece of paper. That was me. So I had to kill him.
Well, we're due to hear from the specialists involved tomorrow, including the surgeon who carried out the transplant. And I think then we can expect a detailed statement from the Health Board, who've previously described this as a unique and tragic case.
Andy Davis in Wales.